Okay, everyone. This is the first attempt at a painting demo. I'm gonna try to quickly do it. First, we're gonna run over the materials, which you should have by now. Look at the brushes first. I had you buy 5 brushes, but I encourage you to look at the other types of brushes that are out there. There's obviously bigger and smaller ones. There's different shapes. These are the general shapes, but there's like fan brushes, which probably wouldn't be necessary. But I just encourage you to look at the other brushes and see what might fit your style of painting. So we just have these small liner brushes. They're pretty close in size, but they're good for detail and making kind of like hard edge lines, which is usually challenging with oil, but I think acrylic should be pretty easy since it dries so fast. You'll probably use the filbert a lot because it's kind of an in-between brush. You can get a lot of paint down, but it also has some detail. You'll notice the filbert is rounded for added feathering techniques for whenever you're blending, so you can kind of like use the edges of the brush to help blend two values or two colors together. Using it sideways is good too for staying with inside lines and stuff like that. The bigger brush is a flat 1 inch. This of course is just for getting a lot of paint down at once over a large area. Also good for blending, and you can do a little bit of detail stuff if you use the corners, but mostly just for getting a lot of paint down, covering a large area quickly. The painting knife, of course, this is for mixing colors together, mixing paint together. If you add in a medium, like a gel medium, you probably use this to spread it thin, mix it together. Helps a lot. The paints, I had you get this giant tube of white because everyone uses white a lot. You'll use, hopefully this will last throughout the semester, but it might not. You might have to end up buying more. I guess that's something to say, is if you run out of paint, you just kind of have to get more. It's a part of painting. You just have to buy the paint. But at the same time, don't be too conservative with your paint, because that'll affect the outcome of your painting. I encourage you to use as much as you need and kind of think about materials later. So we have the primaries, which are the ultramarine, the cadmium red, and the yellow, lemon yellow. So these are your primary colors, which if you mix them together, you get your secondary colors, and we'll talk about all of those steps when we get to the color section. These are the recommended colors I had you buy, except for burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is like kind of like a dark brown red. We will be using that today to make a black. But these down here are the recommended colors that are almost required, so just go ahead and buy them. Especially for the color section, specifically for the color section when we get there. Once you add these into your palette, you can do so much more with achieving different brightnesses and different hues that you would just not be able to achieve with these. Like purple is a good example. Normally if you mix blue and red, you get purple, but if you mix these two, you get more of like a brown color, and it's just hard to achieve like a real pure purple color. That's where this Algerian crimson comes in. Super useful for getting those purple hues when mixing with the blue. So definitely get that, and then orange and the green gold allows you to get a lot of colors close to that. And the cyan's a little different than blue. It's a little, I guess, brighter, and the pigment is just, it's different. It's not ultramarine blue. It's kind of like artificial bright blue, I guess. Okay, those are the paints, and then I have the palette paper. Which is just, you know, you mix your paints on here. It's important to keep an organized palette just so you're not like going too crazy. But, you know, use the real estate. Use multiple if you need to. I like to mix my paint while it's still on the pad itself. That way you can, you know, move it around pretty easy, and you can hold it. That's why the hole is there. You can, I don't know if yours has a hole, but you can easily mix it on a hard area. Olive, no. Here's my Mr. bottle. I don't know if I'll use that. I don't know if it's a good Mr. bottle, but you know, having one can be useful if you want to practice that. I have a bowl of water. You can use a jar. You know, try to keep it clean. If you want, you know, the best way to dispose of painty water is just to pour it into like a bigger jug and let the water dry out, so you're not pouring the pigments down the drain. Acrylics, it's usually fine if you don't have a lot of paint in the water, or if it's super diluted, just to pour it down the drain. But if you want to be extra careful, you can pour it into a bigger container, like a bigger jug, and let the water kind of disappear, leaving just the pigment, and then you can responsibly toss that. Oils is like a totally different story, but acrylics are generally pretty safe and non-toxic. Okay, I also have a ruler. I recommend you get a ruler. It helps with a lot of the exercises. And then a pencil. Here we go. Mine's broken, but you know, you need a pencil. Paper towels, of course. I have this 1.5 inch tape, I think. Maybe 2, yeah, 1.5 inch. Definitely get a roll of painter's tape, artist tape, or painter's tape that you can get from the hardware store. So, oh, and then the pad, the acrylic pad. This stuff is pretty cool. You know, normally we paint on canvas or primed canvas paper, or like a pad. It's more of like a fabric, but this is, of course, paper. It holds the paint really well. It can withstand water. It might warp, so just be aware of that, but I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be good for all of our projects. It's a good size too. You can go smaller.